Hi, Ashley here and welcome to Funky Fresh Food. Baking mania is sweeping over the nation in the UK at the moment, so I thought I'd join in. And it's all thanks to one TV programme, The Great British Bake Off. For those of you that don't know about it, it's a programme on the BBC where 12 contestants compete each week doing various different baking tasks to be crowned the Bake Off winner. Every week they have something called a technical challenge where they're given a set of instructions and some ingredients and have to produce what they're told to. They might not know what it is, but they have to attempt and bake it anyway. So I thought for a little bit of fun, I'd try and do the technical challenge too. So I haven't watched the programme where they do it yet, so I've just got the instructions from the website. So I'm going into it completely blind, just like the bakers are on the television, and let's see how it turns out. Today I'm going to be cooking Jaffa Cakes. Now the bakers on the television will have all the equipment they need, but unfortunately I'm not in the bake-off tent, so I don't have the right type of pan. So instead of making 12 Jaffa Cakes like they are on the television, I'm making 4 larger ones using a Yorkshire pudding tin. So hopefully that won't hurt my chances too much. We'll see. So to start off this recipe, we're going to make the jelly, which is a crucial part of the Jaffa Cake. So we're going to chuck in our jelly cubes into a bowl, pour in 150 millilitres of hot water and give it a stir around until it's all dissolved. To this, we're going to add the zest from one orange to give it a nice bit of freshness. Once that's all nicely mixed in, we're going to pour it into a tray, about a 20 by 30 centimetre one, and pop it in the fridge for an hour. I've lined my tray with cling film to hopefully make it easier for when it comes out of the fridge. Now onto the cake batter, and our ingredients here are eggs, sugar and flour. So it's a fatless sponge. And to start this off, we're going to whisk our eggs and sugar together. The instructions say whisk until pale and fluffy. After about 6 minutes of doing this, my arm really started to hurt, so I hope it's fluffy enough. Maybe it would be easier with an electric whisk, we'll see. We'll then fold in our self-raising flour into this mixture, and then we'll pour it into our tin, which we have greased with a little bit of butter. We'll pop these into the oven at 180 degrees and see what happens. I can see mine in the oven have started to look a little bit like Yorkshire puddings, which is maybe because they're in a Yorkshire pudding tin, or maybe the oven's a bit hot. But I'm going to keep cooking them in there until they're nice and golden brown on top. Once they're cooked, we'll then take them out of the oven, leave them to cool in the tin for a couple of minutes before turning them out onto a wire rack. Even though they do look a little bit funny, I think they'll still be alright for this. Next we move on to the chocolate topping. We'll melt our chocolate in a bowl over a saucepan of boiling water. We'll do this until it's all melted and nicely combined. We'll then take this off the heat and leave it to cool down and thicken up a little bit. Whilst that's doing that, we're going to take our jelly out of the fridge and cut it into circles. For the classic Jaffa Cake look, you want the jelly to be a little bit smaller than the sponge so you get a nice bump on top. But again, as I'm not in the Great British Bake Off tent, I don't have everything to hand, so I'm just using a cup that looks a little bit smaller than the size of the Yorkshire pudding tin bits. So hopefully that'll be alright. We'll then put each of these orange jelly discs on top of the sponge, making sure not to break or tear them at all. I think it's looking pretty good at the moment, so now our chocolate's cooled, we're going to pour it over the top. Now you're probably not going to have too much chocolate, but I'm just going for it because I'm not going to do anything else with the melted chocolate. Now if for some reason you've never come across a Jaffa Cake in your life, then you won't know that they have a slight kind of crisscross pattern on top. Now to do this, you have to let the chocolate cool enough so you can make a pattern, but not too much that it's too hard. I think I might have left this a little bit too long to cool, as my crisscross is a bit too rigid, but I think it still looks pretty good. And now we just leave them to cool completely before we can tuck into them. Here we have the finished Jaffa Cake. I think it looks pretty good. I'm just going to give it a taste. Oh, that's a lot of chocolate and a lot of jelly, but that is delicious. Okay, so I've watched the television programme now, and watching back I can see a few areas where it may have gone a little bit wrong. So my Jaffa cake, it's quite a thin sponge, and that's probably because I didn't whisk the eggs and sugar enough. So if you've got an electric whisk, I highly recommend you do it until you sort of get like a meringue style going on. But if you've just got a hand whisk, just keep going through the pain, or move it around to mates and everyone has a whisk. Paul was also commenting about the shine on some of them. I think mine's fairly shiny, so I didn't get the chocolate too hot, which is good. Got the crisscross pattern on top, so I didn't pipe it. It's not the best, but again, it'll do. I reckon I would have come in the top 10, which I suppose out of 12 isn't that great, but then again, if I made it onto the bake-off, I'd have been pretty happy. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please let me know in the comments section down below, whether you're like Mary and think they look jolly good, or like Paul and think they all look uniformly bad. I'd love to know. And I will link to the Great British Bake Off blog and website so you can get the recipe for yourself. And if you want to stay up to date with all my recipes and see my journey through the Great British Bake Off challenges, if it continues, then please subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna go enjoy this Jaffa cake with a cup of tea now. Bye.